In today's video, we're going to learn all about rabies and horses. If you're new here, my name is Brandi, and this channel is all about horses and my journey with horsemanship. If you want to learn more about horses, be sure to hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss anything. Today I am here with Dr. Rebecca Vollrath from the Copper Country Veterinary Clinic, and today we're going to talk about rabies and horses. So, can you tell me, what is rabies?
So rabies is a viral disease in all mammal species, including humans, horses, dogs, cats. Most people are familiar with it from dogs and cats, and it causes progressive neurologic symptoms and death. It's universally fatal. There's one case study of a human that lived through it, and that's not even one that we can count on.
Well, and I think everybody's seen Old Yeller.
Yep.
That's kind of a staple right there. Can mice and squirrels get it?
Rodents are on the list for not being susceptible to it. So we don't have to test like squirrels.
Okay, well that's good. Okay, so what are, so if a horse first of all, how can a horse get rabies?
So horses would get rabies, or any mammal will get it, from being bitten by a rabid animal.
Okay.
And being bitten, the virus gets into their nerves and travels up to their brain before it causes symptoms. So they may have been bit by the rabid animal a long time ago.
Okay.
Because if it got bit in the back leg, it has to travel all the way to the brain before it causes symptoms.
Okay.
Once symptoms occur, when it hits the brain, they will be dead within 10 days.
Oh.
And that's the peak transmission time, because that's when they can spread it, because it's in their saliva.
Okay.
And that's why if a dog bites a human, there's a 10-day quarantine, because if the dog shows up neurologic, we know that the human has a risk and we need to treat them.
Okay.
So it's the same for horses as well. Within 10 days, they would be dead.
Okay. Can you give us any examples of a horse getting rabies?
So horses are more prone to picking it up than our dogs and cats, because they live outside with those potentially rabid animals 24/7. They're not kept away from them like dogs and cats who live in our house. Cats are pretty susceptible because they're the ones that play with the bats that carry the most rabies in the States. Dogs we legally must vaccinate for human health safety, because they are more likely to bite.
Sure.
But horses will pick it up from wildlife outside, and the American Association of Equine Practitioners, or the AAEP, recently posted a video that a horse owner showed of their horse was just grazing in its pasture, and they saw a fox kind of wandering around in their field, and they couldn't figure out what it was doing, and all of a sudden it ran up, attacked their horse's back leg, bit it, and the horse killed it. And they submitted it for testing, and it was positive for rabies.
Wow.
So it's that easy.
So, but if the owner hadn't seen that,
there would have been no way of knowing.
There would have been no way of knowing. So think of how many people have just horses out in their pastures and different wildlife that comes through, and these horses are at risk for ending up with something like that.
Yep, and a horse did test positive in New Jersey this year for rabies.
Okay. So what are the symptoms of rabies?
There's a lot of different symptoms for rabies. Most people think rabies is an aggressive animal coming to attack you, and that's not always the case. There is a dumb form of the disease. Cattle will get that more so, and they will act very lethargic, drooling, a lot of the same neurologic symptoms as triple E, which is why we had to test for both. They will head press, any neurologic symptoms at all. If they're not vaccinated, it's on my rule out list.
So if I was concerned about my horse potentially having rabies, what do I do?
So any horse with neurologic symptoms, the top 3 things we'll think about is rabies for a human health risk, triple E, and West Nile. A lot of the symptoms transfer over, so they all look the same. And if a horse is unvaccinated, they're most likely, not vaccinated for any of them. So oftentimes these horses are euthanized and tested right away, especially if there's a risk that humans have been affected in any way, shape, or form, which is why you should always wear gloves when you are handling an unvaccinated horse's mouth, especially if you don't know, because then you're at risk for transmission. So unfortunately, since most neurologic horses, if we're concerned about any of those 3 diseases because they're unvaccinated, we oftentimes have to euthanize them and test them.
Okay, and how do you test them?
So the rabies sample is the same as triple E. We need a brain sample from them, a very specific part of the brain that gets sent off to a very specific lab that tests for it. And any humans that may have had a wound on their hand and had saliva on them, or were bitten, have to fill out forms for safety for their own physicians.
How do we protect our horses from rabies?
So horses can get rabies vaccinations just like our dogs and cats do that are good for a year and help prevent them from picking up the virus.
Okay, and how often do we have to vaccinate them for rabies?
I vaccinate for that yearly.
Okay.
That's what the vaccine's approved for.
And what's the average cost of a rabies vaccine?
Around $18 to $20.
Okay, so that's definitely well worth it.
Yep.
Okay, well, I thank you very much. That was really great information on rabies. I know I started vaccinating my horses for rabies because the risk is real and I don't want my horses to be in danger, or anybody else for that matter. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. Comment below. Let me know if you've had any issues with rabies in your area or if you've heard any stories about it. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. And also, if you know of anybody who could benefit from watching this video, please be sure to share it with them. We really want to get all the information out to our equine community. So thanks so much for watching.